Hey, it's Pete Cook and Sean O'Neill. We're here with the Real904, January 22nd. We got two special guests today from Austin, Texas, two of my favorite people in the world. When you get to meet them and hear their stories too, I think they'll be two of your favorite people in the world. As Sean said, first thing he said, you're the infamous Diego. He's heard about him through different channels of friends. So anyway, we got Victor Nino and Diego Corzo with the Nino team in Keller Willams in Austin, Texas with us today. Thanks, guys, for jumping on. Man, can you guys hear us?
Yes, sir.
All right, man.
Yes, sir. We can hear you. Thank you for the welcome. It is a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, pleasure to talk to you too, man. We're psyched to have you, man. We have we got a lot of things in common. We're two of the states and areas. You guys are smack down in Austin, Texas, and we're in Northeast Florida, where we both had an influx of buyers coming through the pipeline.
Well, I just saw a report came out that Texas and Florida gained the most amount of people in the last 3 months.
Yeah,
in the whole U.S. from a migration standpoint. So I know Austin. There's nothing going on in Austin, right? Not like Tesla moving there or anything new, right, guys? Nothing.
Oracle headquarters.
Oracle.
No, it's all good.
Yeah.
The Boring Company, Elon Musk, one of his companies, has also just bought land in Pflugerville, which is just northeast of Austin as well.
That's awesome. So, yeah, tell us a little bit what's going on for you guys the last 6 months after the pandemic hit, and I mean, amazing and news that I hear on all these large corporations coming there. But why don't you guys fill us in on maybe what's happening in the Austin market?
Go for it, Diego.
You can go.
All right. So, pretty much what I'm seeing is that almost 1 in 3 or 4 people that I have a conversation with, they're from California. A lot of people are like desperately trying to buy just any investment in town, which is pretty interesting. And I'll tell you, when the pandemic started for a couple of weeks, we didn't know what was going to happen. And we were like, we didn't know if we could show or not show, if it was against the rules or not against the rules. So there was a lot of misinformation and, everybody was concerned. But then what we ended up seeing is that people were getting sick and tired of being in little apartments, and they started looking for homes. People that had smaller homes were looking for more space. And then obviously, as new people from different parts of the country that had more restrictions were like, hey, the hell with being where I am right now, because I can't even go out to dinner. Now they started looking for other places. And from what I understand, Florida is somewhat open, where you can go and have dinner with friends and family and so forth. And it's the same here in Austin. So we are getting a lot of people coming from, other states where there's a lot more restrictions.
So that's a lot of similarities to what we're experiencing, right?
Yeah, pretty similar. We were talking yesterday on the phone, Victor, and actually I want to introduce you guys of who you are. We'll go back to that. Your guys' stories are awesome. But Victor and I were just, sharing some things going on, similarities that we have, businesses are open. We have some restrictions with things, but we're opened up, and they were saying the same thing. But one of the things that Victor was sharing with me yesterday, they have so many California buyers, and inventory is super low. Can you share some of the things that are going on with pricing?
Yeah, what do you guys see in inventory-wise and pricing? I got our numbers up here, too. I'm sure there's some similarities.
And, what's really going on? People
what's really going on?
What is going on there? Yeah.
Yeah,
well, so... Go for it, Diego.
Yeah, one of the things here that we've been seeing, and it varies per... I would say per area, but it's very similar, is that because of the lack of supply and, of course, the huge demand that's going on, there's not that many options, which basically, so there's Austin people that want to move, but then the people from New York, the people from California. So days on market has gone super low. We got an email from a builder who told us that there is 2 weeks of inventory in Williamson County.
Wow.
There's only 2 weeks of inventory in Williamson County. So there is, with the demand, the builders have stopped selling empty lots that would usually take 6 months or 8 months to build. And now there's people in the waiting list of 300, 500 people in some communities.
Wow.
And from personal experience, in one city or like in one whole area, there was only one home on the market that had specific requirements, right? Like good school districts, over 2,000 square feet, 4 bedrooms. And it was listed for 525, which is still high. And then there were 27 offers. We submitted an offer 100 over asking, 625, and we still didn't get it.
Only 100 over asking, so, Diego. Come on.
Only 100 over asking, yes, and we still didn't get it. We got a cash. There was a cash offer, or there were multiple cash offers over 600,000, and I'll tell you that is not Austin money from that perspective.
Mm.
Yeah. So like it was priced right. It wasn't like low on purpose to encourage multiple offers or anything. It was, and then it just came in. What are you?
And the reason why we came up with that number, like for our offer to justify the 100 over, is I called around to the realtors that had other homes in the area under contract, and a home that was also priced at like 530 got an offer over 600, and they were going to close in a week. So that was going to become a comp. So that's what helped me justify it to my clients, be like, hey, an offer for 625 would be enough. But yeah, I mean, it was enough to get the home under contract. So
Diego, that's crazy. We're not quite that heated. We're only at 34 days inventory, which is, I mean, honestly, we've been losing our mind thinking about under 2 months inventory. And I guess that's, what's great is now, we can watch California previously. Now we can watch Austin and say, what will our market look like? So I guess I'm asking for some advice from you. What are you coaching your team on to find the inventory, to help them, because obviously there's a huge demand. There's sales happening. What are you guys doing or coaching your team to find that inventory, that shadow inventory, creating it?
Yeah.
Well, yesterday, in fact, Diego and we sat down and we got to finally have a conversation about that. So basically what we're going to go ahead and start doing is canvassing neighborhoods where we've listed homes or where we see that people are wanting to get into, which is pretty much anywhere. And basically just showing them how there is very little inventory and people willing to pay outrageous prices, and finding the people that are thinking about leaving the Austin metro area. Because if they end up selling and trying to buy here, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, we can still hear you.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, so if they end up selling, they won't be able to really buy anything if they stay in that same general area. So they're having to go out to like Bastrop or Elgin, which is like 45 minutes from downtown Austin, and they're like further out outskirts. But what we're trying to do is also we're going to go ahead and go through all our list of past clients and have a conversations with them. If they're happy with their home, are they thinking about selling? And then asking them who else they know that are homeowners. So that's really the approach that we're going to take now, because right now, if somebody calls me and says, hey, Victor, I'm qualified, I'm up to $500,000, there are no homes. I went to go show some homes the other day in a brand new community, and it kind of seemed like they were defeated when we were out there, because the builder said, hey, you know what? We don't have any homes on the ground yet. Nobody's living here because no homes are complete, but we have a 500 plus list of people waiting. And I know that other neighborhoods in that area, same thing. You show up to offices and they have a sign that says, if you don't have an appointment, we can't meet you, call this number. You call that number, nobody answers. Like right now, like they don't care, because they can pretty much, not answer or whatever. And people are still going to be lining up on the weekends to try and see homes. So the other day it was like 38 degrees or whatever, and it was a little drizzly. There was a line of like 50 people trying to get into a neighborhood to just hopefully get a lot so that they can build.
Well, one of the things you talked about is something, we recently been doing, is we're trying to find developers or people with the land and partner them with construction guys and put together some of these future communities, right? Like, when we write down our goals, I'm sure you want so many listings, and obviously your buyer's agents want to sell so many of them. So it's one of the things that we're doing, but we're finding out even if you do that, you're a year, 2 years out on some of these projects. But it sounds like in your market and ours too, demand is going to, we don't see anything slowing this down, do we, guys?
No, not at this point.
Yeah. Like, and what's it like? What's the climate like there with, I mean, is it exciting and awesome with all these people moving? I mean, that's, it was always a cool place.
Yeah.
And
Eclectic, fun
kind
market.
of a fun place. But what do you guys, what do the locals think? Like Joe Rogan moving there. You got Elon Musk. You got all these different people relocating there.
It depends on perspective.
Yeah.
The negative people are going to be mad at it, and the ones that are pretty proactive and happy people, they're going to be like, cool, there's change, there's good stuff happening, but it's all going to boil down to who you ask. Now, when it comes to the front of owning a home and talking to first-time buyers, most of them are going to be out of luck where they're not going to be able to buy a home. I mean, it's just unfortunate that they had to wait so long, but to be fair, they could have bought last year, 2, 5, 6 years ago. But the whole thing of, I'll wait later, I'm going to save a little bit more. I just feel sad because I remember talking to people in January of last year and they're like, you know what, I'm going to save $20,000, $30,000. Well, you know what, $20,000, $30,000 doesn't help when you're having to offer 100 over and you still don't get the house.
Wow. That is like, yeah, you guys are in a really unique situation.
I'm sure we can talk about this market and we'll check back in, I guess, at some point, see if our forecasts continued. These guys have some great stories.
Yes. So Victor, we'll start with like us and how we even met. We met 6 years ago at an event in which we had Gonzalo on a couple weeks ago, which was Diego's brother. And Victor and I partnered up on some personal, we talked about some personal stuff and goals. And Victor was just one of those guys you just immediately gravitate to. Super fun, positive, and Victor, talk about how you got into real estate, like with your brother and what you came through. Like you used to work a job. You're an avid reader of personal development. Like, how did you get into real estate and leave your 9-to-5 job?
Okay. Well, as far as a realtor or as an investor?
Both. You can go either or, man. You've read.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give you the short version. I was 19 and I wanted to buy a cool car because I'm like, you know what? The girls like nice cars and I'm not a very good looking guy. So I needed as much help as I needed. Right. So I went to go drive a Mustang and I remember it was a beautiful car. If you know a little bit about my background, like nobody in my family ever had a new car or anything like that. So for me, it was just kind of like a dream come true almost, right? So I drove the car to my brother's house. He says, come into my office. I want to show you how much a Mustang that's 5, 6 years old is worth. He's like, how much are you going to pay? I'm like, 20 grand. He says, if you take real good care of this car in 6 years, it'll be about $7,000, $8,000 if you're lucky. Or you can buy yourself a home and rent out the rooms so that you can live for free. And then you can go ahead and buy the car instead of paying what you pay right now in rent, you pay that towards the car. So that's how I started investing in real estate. Ever since then, I've lived for free. I don't have to pay a mortgage out of my work because of my rental properties that I bought throughout the years. When it comes to how I started real estate as a realtor, I remember I was working as an insurance agent for, at that point, I think like six years. And I remember one day I'm excited and I told my brother, I'm like, hey man, I worked like 20 hours overtime. I'm super happy. I got a check for like $600 and I was on cloud 9, right? And he's like, he was already a realtor. He's like, come on into my office. And then he's all like, hey, you know what? You see these pictures here? Do you remember when we went to that party? And I was like, no, I didn't go. Hey, do you remember when we went to my cousin's graduation? What about the wedding? What about this? And I was like, no, I didn't go. And he's like, why didn't you go? And I was like, I didn't have vacation time. He's like, how old are you? I'm like 25. And then he said, you know what? You've already missed all these important family events. How many more are you willing to miss by keeping a corporate job when somebody's going to tell you when to show up, when you can go on vacation and all that jazz? He says, and another thing, you're excited about your $700. I just made 1,000 and this was a rental. I made 1,000 in 2 hours. And he's like, he shows me the check. And I'm like, so you're a hardworking guy, but do you want to work where you're working or do you want to try something new? And that's what planted a little seed in my mind. The interesting thing is I didn't take his advice and take my classes. One day I'm picking up a check at the office he was working at locally here in town. And I show up, I'm having a conversation with the receptionist. Well, the broker hears my voice and thinks I'm my brother. He has a 2-minute conversation with me. And then he says at the end, hey, have you ever thought about being a realtor? And I'm like, no. He's like, you know what? I've been doing this for 30 years. You would be excellent at this business. So I go and tell my brother, I'm like, dude, I talked to your boss, man. And he said that I could be a realtor. I'm going to get my license. He's like, well, shit, nobody ever told you that before, right? But sometimes it takes a stranger to believe in us for us to really believe that we can do something. So that's how I got into real estate.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, and his brother, they have a team together. And LC was a fireman, right? And firefighter and doing real estate. And then, they have a great story. And part of the other thing with him, we shared a bunch of stuff we were going to try to personally work on. And both of us had a fear of public speaking. And Diego, too. That'll come into it as well. And, like, we're laughing. We're on a podcast now. Victor does, like, all this TV work. And he's always like asked to speak in different networks. And then the other thing is he talked about having a family. He was single, running around, and he just had a second baby, married his dream girl, and just had a second kid. So it's cool seeing 6 years of his plans and his goals and dreams and knowing him right now.
Yeah, go from vision to execution. That's awesome, man. Congratulations.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, like on that front, I remember right now vividly when we were having those, intimate conversations about life and stuff. And it's like, I felt that I had arrived financially because what I was earning at that point was a lot more than anything I could have imagined growing up. And I still remember feeling defeated. I remember one day I go home to my condo. I had a beautiful view, 26th floor downtown Austin. And I had sold 3 homes that day. And I remember, I don't know, I made like 30 grand or I don't know how much. But I remember I was so happy. And as soon as I walked into my place, it was like a vacuum, dude. And everything I was so happy about, I was like, shit, I have nobody to share it with. So it sucked. And it made me understand that sometimes in our quest to financial freedom or earning a lot of money, at the end of the day, if you don't have anybody special to share it with, it kind of sucks. So, I travel the world. I've gone to like 39 countries, and same thing. I remember traveling at times and seeing something special. And I was like, damn, dude, I'm by myself. Yeah, I was having fun, going out, dancing. Yeah, but it's not the same. So, dialing it back. And I remember at that point, I said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and look for the right woman for me. And I was like laser focused to make that happen. Got married, did a honeymoon around the world. It was pretty amazing. And thanks to Diego, it's really important to partner up with great people. Diego was handling everything while I was traveling the world. And, finding good people in your life are key, but it also boils down to the kind of person you are, because we tend to attract people that are similar to us, right? So I wanted to share that, because sometimes when we just focus only on business, we tend to neglect the other part of life, which is really what puts the sizzle in life.
Yeah, the people you're doing it with.
Yeah, you got your why. And you got your hand. Has there been an adjustment working now in real estate with the 2 young kids at home and COVID? Has that been?
Yeah, I'm sure there hasn't been any adjustments.
How's that going?
Yeah. It's going well. I have my own office, and, the home's big enough for us to, spread apart if we need to. So thankfully it hasn't affected me as much as other people. But I think one thing we need to be conscious is that, not everybody's having it as easy as we are, and not to dim our light, but more to just understand and, to try and help people out and say, hey, you know what, you might need more space. You might need this, that. Let's go ahead and find it. But as we were talking earlier before, it's kind of like now they have to leave the area if they really want to be able to get more space.
Well, our home prices are a little bit lower. So if you want to send them anywhere, please reach out to us.
Yeah, they want the warm weather and the tax breaks. We both got it.
And about half the price per square foot.
Yeah. So and then we got Mr. Corzo, Diego. I've heard his story gets repeated so many times in a lot of circles.
I literally was listening to this little small group that feeds into Go Abundance, and Diego's name was mentioned again. I'm like, I always literally, I know your brother pretty well, but getting a chance to hear the story over and over again. Just so awesome that you're here today, getting a chance to share.
Yeah. So Diego was talked about at the event that Victor went, and then I happened to partner with Victor, and he's like, yeah, Diego actually works with me. And then he's like, I'm mentoring him, I'm getting him in. And Diego had a full-time job at the time. He was doing some stuff, and then he was getting ready to take the jump. And then Gonzalo was there interning. So they ended up coming and staying with me for a couple of days at Christmas. In 2 weeks, when someone says they're going to come drive, he drove from Texas and they actually do it to go learn and everything. It's pretty impressive. And these guys like read ferociously. They're always asking questions. They love being mentored. They're very open. But Diego, his story is incredible. I won't steal the thunder. Diego, talk about like your upbringing and some of the stuff that you've overcome. He's been featured on CNN. He's been doing TED Talks. And we all had that fear of public speaking. I think we did our first public speaking class together.
We did.
Yeah, we did. And Diego had, I could say this because Diego will tell you he had a stuttering issue, so it was always a thing. And he had other stuff that normal people don't even have to overcome, just like, and things. And that was one of his things. And this guy's speaking on TED Talks now. He's on he's like everywhere, and motivating people. I saw him on CNN. I see him like on all these things. So Diego, talk a little bit about, your upbringing, your walk through real estate.
Yeah. So for me, so just a bit about me. So I am a dreamer and a DACA recipient, and right now it's been a very hot topic these past couple of years, and now as well.
Today, the news that today.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's in the news today, and I've been a big advocate of that. And I've gone to Washington, D.C. to meet with congressmen and share my story. I've been in no matter what political situation, but I've been in the same room with like Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, just like in support of the Dreamers. And of course, with other Republican congressmen and all of that stuff. But I came here when I was 9 years old from Lima, Peru. And my parents, we came here. We came with a visa and then we overstayed it. So for me, it didn't really hit me that I was an undocumented immigrant until I turned 15 years old.
Right. Nobody actually talks about that.
Yeah. Like it didn't really hit me until I went to the DMV to get my driver's license. And the lady tells me, hey, you cannot get one. You're missing a couple of documents. So that's when I knew that my life was going to be a little bit different than my friends. So I put in all my emphasis into school, graduated third in my high school class. I applied for college to go to Florida State University. And I found out that because of my lack of papers, I couldn't qualify for any student loans, grants, financial aid, nothing. And I won some scholarships because of my grades, but some were taken back because I didn't show that I was a citizen, or I couldn't show my green card because I didn't have anything. So in spite of that, I had enough money to pay for one semester. And while I was there, I volunteered doing websites for a nonprofit. They wanted to hire me, and I'm like, great, this is going to be my opportunity to be able to pay for college. So I go through the whole process, and they said, Diego, everything is looking good. We just need your work authorization. I'm like, okay. I call my mom, and she's like, Diego, we don't have that. You don't have that. And I'm like, crap. Okay, I'm 19 years old at this time, cannot work, cannot drive, cannot get any student loans. I'm like, what the heck is going on? But I remember what my dad told me, that the U.S. is the land of opportunity, but it is up to us to find it. So I knew that there has to be a way that I could figure something out. And that's when I found out that I could create an LLC. So I convinced one of my best friends to create the LLC for me. And then he added me as a manager later. And that's how I was able to pay for like work, pay for college. And then I graduated college at the same time. So I graduated with 2 degrees, top 1% of FSU. I didn't know what I was going to be able to do. I was 22. And that semester, my final semester, that was when the Obama administration created the DACA program that basically allows dreamers like me to get a driver's license and a work permit. Because of that, I applied for a software developer job with General Motors. They say, Diego, do you want to go to Detroit or Austin? And I'm like, I'm going to go to Austin. I don't like the snow. And which was the best decision I ever made for sure. Because I had no idea. This was back in 2012, 2013. So I moved to Austin, Texas, finally was able to get my permit, my driver's license, everything, with a few other hiccups too that I had to, there's been a lot of ups and downs. And, but at the end of the day, what got me into real estate was that I read Rich Dad Poor Dad when I was 21. And I had set a goal that I wanted to own 10 properties by the age of 35. And that book taught me two things, that you can trade your time for money or you can make your money work for you. So I began to focus. Like I knew that even though I had my salary job, I knew that if I lived below my means, I could invest in real estate for passive income. At that point, while I'm in Austin, I meet Victor and we went to lunch. I tell him that I want to start house hacking. I want to buy a house with low money down, live in the master, rent out the rooms. And I was 23 and Victor tells me, I've been like, I've done that. And I bought my house when I was 19 or 21. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. So we stayed
19.
friends. 19. Yeah, 19. So then we stayed friends and he was helping me with my house, just like all these obstacles that always happens because I don't have my papers. A lender told me that I could qualify. And then they said, hey, you know what? You cannot qualify anymore. So I felt bad. And I told Victor, look, Victor, I'm pretty good with technology. I feel like I wasted your time. So let me see how I can help you on something with real estate. So we stayed friends. And then fast forward a few months later, I was like, hey, can I drive you around over the weekends? And just so that I can see if I wanted to become a realtor. He said yes. And it went from there. I got my license. I was able to buy my house for house hacking. And while I was working at GM, and what that allowed me to do is buy a house with $8,000, live in the master, live for free, and the extra payment was paying for my car. So I've been living for free since I was 24 years old. By 27, I own 10 properties. So I hit my goal that I wanted to do 35 by age 27. And then that's when I became technically financially independent. And now I am 30 years old. So it's been a lot of ups and downs, and I've had the opportunity to connect with incredible mentors, with the guys in Go Abundance that they mentor me. I wasn't supposed to be in that room with like 15 other millionaires, but they gave me the chance, and ever since then, my whole life completely changed. And that's why I'm a big proponent in like connecting with like-minded people, with mentors that will take your life to the next level so that they can be the example. And that is the one thing that helped me get to where I am today.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome, man. And it's great that, I mean, I think we've known each other for 6 years or so. So I've watched you like overcome these things and do it. It's amazing to watch. It really is. And it's like, man, when we have a bad day and we don't have to worry about papers or anything else like that, and the other challenges, that's just amazing to see you do it and see you go for it and grow and take that book and run with it. Another great thing I was picking up on that is like, you want to help Diego because he adds value. Like Victor, he added value and people talk about it, but like he kept on going. Like, and you're just like, oh, this guy's great. You know, you want to do because he adds value. You know, you got a great relationship with him.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So that's you know, it's been that's amazing, Diego. So you got how many houses now?
I own around 25 doors now, I think.
25. What do you have, Victor? You said that you did the houses as well.
Yeah, I have 9 doors.
9 doors.
And right now I'm about to build a project where it's going to add 12 to them. So it's going to be 6 duplexes. So right now I'm in the process of getting the loan, which is pretty fun. We're getting all that paperwork in order. But, you know, to add to what you said right now, Pete, you know, one thing that I hear a lot is like, oh, get around people that'll make you better. Get around people that'll build you up. Oh, you know, seek advice from people that have done it before. But the key ingredient here, you pointed it out, is that Diego adds value. So most people go to a group to get something. Yeah. Diego goes to give of himself So therefore, that's why people are very willing to be saying, hey, Diego, let me take you by the hand. Let me show you. Why? Because he's willing to do anything. And that's what we were talking about yesterday, how Diego like has gone above and beyond expectations on so many fronts. And that's why all these blessings come his way. Why? Because he planted the seeds to reap those rewards. And most people are not willing to do that. And therefore they ask, well, how come, the Diegos of the world get all the breaks, but I don't?
Well, it's funny hearing his story because it feels like all there were obstacles, right?
Yeah.
But he was authentically himself, almost enthusiastically going through it, finding a way. And like you mentioned, Victor, adding value. And I think those are some great lessons to, for us to take inventory of ourselves and say, am I being enthusiastic? Am I going to add value for somebody else? Because I will reap what I sow.
Yeah, he has a lot of skill. I mean, he's smart as can be. You don't get to third in your class, and he's like a tech wit. Like, he's super smart, and then he's charismatic, and like people want to help. So it is great. Victor's, that was both when I met you both guys. You both are you're always thinking of giving first, which is really cool. And I was thinking other blessings end up happening to people. Like, what a decision. Not that, I don't know if you were thinking about going into real estate when you first were taking the GM job, but like your decision not to go to Detroit, you went to Austin, and then you get into real estate and you're like, you fell into the place to be. And then you get hooked up with Victor, who like literally was like there and did the same house hack as you. And like you didn't,
similarities in your story, right? You connect to people that had gone through something similar.
Yeah, so like that one decision of not going to Detroit to Austin then opens up all these other
Was that
things.
such a hard decision? I mean, if you Google Detroit, I think you would.
But the opposite real estate markets.
Yeah.
If
If you're chasing foreclosures and creating inventory, you might have said, "Wow,
maybe as an investor,
there's more opportunity in Detroit."
Yeah,
it's true. You're right.
Hey, so I'll tell you this. I have a pretty cool story that Diego and I don't know a whole lot of people that really know this story, but I thought this was super cool. So one day I have a barbecue at my house and I invite Diego and some friends. Well, one of my best friends, he's in the Border Patrol, like the U.S. Border Patrol, right? And he loves barbecuing, and he's like cooking up some steaks and making some real good Mexican food. And Diego's hanging out, and all of a sudden, we start talking about work and stuff. And then we ask him, and he's like telling us like how he different things from work and people they apprehended and people trying to cross drugs, you name it, right? And then Diego pulls me aside and he's like, hey, dude, like he takes me in the house like, hey, does your friend really work for the Border Patrol? I was like, yeah, dude. And I had forgotten what had happened years before. He's like, hey, man, maybe I should leave, dude, because I don't have my papers. And then I'm like being a wise ass. And I'm like, Diego, you know what, Diego? You hang out with me, dude. They'll even cook for you. Don't worry about that. But it was just interesting how, sometimes because of our work or sometimes because of what we're exposed to, we may sit on a certain side. But you know what? When we take the time to get to know someone, especially someone like Diego, like I heard this in a podcast. It's so funny. I'm like listening to a podcast and all of a sudden they're all like, oh yeah, this guy in Austin, Diego Corzo. It's like, he's the kind of guy, like when I met him, I'm like, there has to be something bad about this guy. He's like, man, everybody loves him. And it was so interesting how, in this case, like some people may have their mindset of what DACA means to the US or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like, dude, when you get to know someone, you're like, wow, dude, I wish my cousin, I wish my son, I wish my brother would have the drive that this guy has. So it's like, I think it's an important thing to point out, to say, hey, get to know people that are different, that come from a different background, because that's sometimes where you get a lot of golden nuggets that would make you feel like you appreciate the little things that we take for granted. Like, hey, we see a Border Patrol checkpoint. I'm in South Texas and I go through checkpoints. I have my papers, so I don't feel anything weird, versus someone that doesn't. Imagine the feeling of, holy shit, they're going to send me back. So it's like, there's a lot of that goes into play. But my whole point here is, get to know people outside of who you typically hang out with. and you find out that you'll meet some pretty amazing people.
Yeah, exactly. Perspective's a big thing too. One other little Diego and Victor. Remember when I came to Austin like 4 or 5 years? I think I was in your penthouse. I think we had like a little party up there. It was like you picked me up, Victor got something to eat, and then I went to meet Diego to go running. And I was stressed. I was dealing with some insurance stuff on my personal home. And like I was out of my house for 6 months. It was just like stressing me the heck out with some other stuff. And I went for a run with Diego. And he's like, yeah, we were just sitting there talking about some stuff that like he was dealing with, like at the time, like, whether he had to get married or not to stay in the country. Like, all this stuff and like other things I won't go into unless Diego wants to share. And I got off the run. I was like, we ran like, and he was like, nothing. He was like, man, this happened at this time. And he was telling me his outlook on it. He's like, I was like, holy cow, man. Like you talk about just like
major issues, feel
determined and not worried about something. It was like so impressive. Like just sitting there going, I was like, wow, first world problems on some things. And then other people just they make it happen. They just make it happen no matter what. Like, and I've seen it. I know the Corzo boys and the thing of finding out something was wrong with them. I think I even thought that in the back of my head. And I was like, I had the brother, I knew him for 2 years, lived with him. The brother like poked hole, like thought that like maybe Gonzalo would be like, yeah, he's really a jerk or something. Like, nope, he just came up better and better and better. And I was like, damn, I love this guy. It really is like, it's pretty cool. So
I think it's just a great example.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Yeah. I mean, it's been an incredible journey, right? But at the end of the day, it goes a lot with like the mindset. Right. No matter what, like obstacles I've had, I've been like, I listen to Tony Robbins, right? And he always says like, it's just the power of questions that you ask yourself, right? So there's 2 questions so that the one that you choose can dictate the direction of your life, right? So if a situation happens is why is this happening for me rather than to me? Because when you ask yourself, oh, why is this happening to me? You take the victim mentality and begin to blame others. And I've been conscious enough to to understand that nothing has meaning but the meaning that we give to that situation. So then I just ask myself, okay, why is this happening for me? And when I ask myself that, it brings different ideas. Okay, this is happening, but I can solve it this way, or maybe I try it this way. And there's been a lot of different obstacles. And I'll just share one here of how I was able to take the advantage of it. And again, not to get political, but the last administration tried to take away the DACA program. And instead of being super mad about it and irritated and coming from fear, I took another approach and I was like, look, I'm going to come out as a dreamer and share on social media that I pay taxes, that I employ Americans, that I provide houses to Americans. And like me, there's 800,000 of us. So I shared that post and that went viral. And that is what got me on Forbes, CNN Money, entrepreneur.com, TEDx stages, right? But it was because I came from that like, okay, is this happening for me? What can I do? I can continue to inspire others through my story, no matter what the naysayer says. Because I had a lot of people, a lot of comments that were like, you should be deported back to Peru if you're so smart, blah, blah, blah. So, but yeah, at the end of the day, it's like that resourcefulness. Some people even said you should go back to Mexico, and I'm like, I'm not even Mexican.
Get it right.
I'm Peruvian.
Right?
That's truly an American comment.
And you are resourceful of anybody I've ever met. All right, so I got a question for each one of you guys because I know all your guys' story, and these are 3 true real estate experts that I really know all their business. They really do everything right. They got systems. We have a lot of new people coming in the business. Diego, for all of you, and we'll start with like Diego. When you got into the business, how many sales did you make the first year, and then how important was it choosing a mentor to work with, like a Victor, to join a team? So like, and what did you do? What was like some of the, what were the biggest takeaways that you would do over again and tell someone starting out to do
in the first year?
Yeah. The main thing for somebody starting out. So the first year, I believe that I did like 5 deals, or something like that.
You're part-time though, right?
I was part-time.
Yep.
Yeah. But then what happened was I needed to have experience, right? Because I did not know many people in Austin. I've never lived in Austin, so I didn't know the areas or anything, but I had time. So when Victor became my mentor, I was like, hey, we can create some form of partnership where you can take your time back and I can leverage all of your knowledge, all of your connections too. So when I partnered up with him in 2015, and 2016 was the first year that we worked together, I believe that I sold personally like 11 homes, but I helped with Victor, and I think that he sold another like 45 or something like that. But I was able to manage all of his clients, and I learned a lot. And then fast forward a few years later, now I'm doing my own clients. Victor's doing his own clients. In 2019, I did 33 deals, and in 2020, I did 56. So it's been great. But leveraging the connections and being how we can provide value to each other, I feel like that is what has helped us a lot.
That's all. What was your main lead source for your own leads when you got started? Were you cold calling, door knocking, open houses, or what was your?
Yeah. So one of the things that attracted me to have go and learn from Victor was that he did everything by referrals.
Yep.
So for example, between him and I, not counting the other agents in the team, we did around 109, 110 deals last year, and they all were referrals. So only referrals. We don't call. We don't do door knocking. We don't do that. Not because we don't want to, but it's because we like building those relationships is what pays off. And we invest our time in doing podcasts like this, for example, in spending time with our clients. Victor hosts events at his house, and in building relationships, it just keeps other people in mind too. Hey, they do real estate. So yeah. So in learning from him, that's how I was able to do it. And I would say for any agent, it's we just chose our competitive advantage. All agents have that. In the beginning for me was that I was a software developer for GM. I bought my first property to house hack, and I began to teach all my other friends how to do it because I knew that they had pretty good income. So from that perspective, that was my competitive advantage. I was helping a lot of the millennials at General Motors buy homes. And then that ended up building that unfair advantage, like some people would call it, where other people their unfair advantage might be conversion in cold calling or door knocking or open houses. Ours is relationships.
That's awesome. And both you guys are great at relationships. Definitely.
So Victor's perspective on that.
Yeah. Victor, what is your perspective?
Well, I'll tell you, backtracking to 2015, remember I was saying earlier about kind of feeling empty on the personal side. I think that a lot of times people will make decisions on whether to take on a person on their team or not because of money. And they're like, you know what, why get somebody else in the mix when I can just keep it all? But then that also puts you in a position where you're deficient in time to do other things. So when Diego came, telling me, hey, Victor, you know what? I'm gonna get my license. I figured, I'm like, you know what? I've gone through 7-8 other people, and people don't commit. They tell you they're gonna do something and they don't follow through. They have more excuses than actions. And I said, you know what? This guy reminds me of me when I was younger. Let's go ahead and give it another shot. And my God, it was a total difference saying, hey, I'm going to go ahead and give you 30% of all my deals, but you're going to do all the behind the scenes work, all the paperwork, the listings. You're going to post them on MLS. You're going to do single thing. And I told him from the get-go, I'm like, look, Diego, you know what? You might have a conversation with a friend or a relative later on, and they'll probably tell you stuff like, hey, dude, you're doing all the work. This is not fair. And you know what? You're going to be doing all the work, and it's going to seem like you're carrying all the load, and it's going to be true. So if you're on board, I'll tell you everything I've learned, so that way we can build something together. And I'll tell you this, guys, it's been 5 years. Diego and I have never, ever had an argument. We have never raised our voice or giving an attitude to each other, because I love the fact that Diego is respectful with everybody. And I'm the same way. So it's like we've been able to navigate sometimes sticky situations, but we always resolve it and we move forward and we're good. But, going back to what I said earlier, teaming up with someone that is aligned with you so that you can build something bigger. So working by referral, for me, it's all about creating relationships. Most people are too worried about, oh, how much am I going to get from this deal? Should I invest my time? Or, hey, I'm showing somebody some rental properties. It's a waste of my time because I could go sell a home. Well, guess what? I could be showing Pete some rental properties and maybe his best friend's going to buy an $800,000 house.
Yeah.
Right. But if I don't look at Pete with a $600 sign on his back because that's how much I'm going to make from his rental, and I treat him with respect and I add value to helping him find a place that works for him, guess what? The next time somebody says, hey, do you know somebody? Or if they say something to the effect of, hey, I'm thinking about buying a house, they'll be like, dude, you need to call Nino. You need to call Diego. Why? Because he did a great job, man. He helped me out and he listened to me, whatever. You'll be amazed how many times I've gotten clients that will say, dude, I've talked to several agents and most of them seem like they're too busy or they say the wrong thing. I'm very much about how do you express yourself when you're talking to a client, because everything you say will be used against you or it will be favorable for you to be able to gain their trust so that you take them from where they are now to giving them keys in their hands.
That's awesome.
Awesome advice.
That is. It's just how you should probably treat everybody anyway. It's a good way of living on top of it. Sean, what's your big 1 minute?
Well, just like I heard with Victor, you kind of, you became the rainmaker first, and you had some, we'll say either win or we learn, right? So you had some learning opportunities on some people you brought into your business. I would say that I share a similarity in that story. But then, you found the right who, right? Hungry, humble, and smart. And then they figured out their roles and responsibilities. And I think, anytime you look at a system that's built, it usually looks like that. There's usually at least one other person that you're partnered with. And then from there, it goes as big as the vision of those people in that group. And all these qualities that you're, sincere, authentic, true leaders creating other leaders. I mean, I think that's what you're hearing. So a lot of similarities with me. I had a lot more stumbling blocks. I did a lot of the wrong way. So we share those stories all the time. But a lot of those same elements to build a system. Absolutely.
That's cool. Yeah, you're one of the best with systems. I'll account for that. Hey, so guys, this is we're getting ready to wrap up, but I've been obsessed with this, and I just want to know yours. Like salespeople, I've gotten back to the old sales books and everything, and kind of treating it like almost like a sport. Like, how do you get mentally prepared? How do you stay up? Because rejection, all this stuff. It's tough to manage everything as you have families. Do you guys, each one of you, have a morning routine that you follow?
Well,
besides
my morning routine's probably not.
Yeah.
My morning routine's probably not as great as Diego, so I'll let him end so that way he can end on a high note. But I mean, for me, it's like I wake up in the morning and I start listening to personal growth audios all the time.
Yeah.
In the morning. And right now, the last 5 days, I'm proud of myself. I've been working out again. After the baby was born, or even a couple months before, I couldn't do much, or I chose not to because of lack of sleep or whatever. But now I'm working out and then getting ready for my day, but mentally. And I'll tell you, like the key in every morning for me is wake up and be happy. And have a good attitude, because you know what, man, it doesn't matter if you're broke as hell, or it doesn't matter if you're the richest guy in town. If you have a bad attitude, you're already starting off the day the wrong way. So it's like, I always look for the good in everything. Something bad happens. Diego and we laugh about things at times where we're like, dude, man, we made a mistake, but you know what? It's a class we're willing to take. Let's just pay for it and move on. But going back to the morning routine is just having a positive mindset, and obviously putting together a plan for the day and just executing on those things. And one other thing that I say is very, very important is I turn off all my notifications on my phone. My phone's off 90% of the time. If I'm meeting with a client, I don't answer. And I purposefully leave it with the screen up when I'm meeting with someone. And sometimes they'll be like, hey, you don't need to get that. And I'm like, no, you know what, Pete? Right now, I want to value your time. I want to make sure that I'm here for you. So if I'm ever busy and you call me and I'm busy, I might not answer the phone, but I'll call you right back. So it's like those little things that you start from the morning sets the pace for the rest of the day.
So true. Diego, what do you have a morning routine that you do?
Yeah. So one of the things that I do, not every single day, but of course, in the morning, I go to the gym. I read my affirmations here that are basically like to give you three, right? Like, I attract new opportunities. I am happy, joyful, peaceful, and well rested. I am the best at what I set my mind to. I'm excited about this new day. I create wealth for me and others. And so my affirmations. What Victor was saying, starting like when you start with these kinds of affirmations and listening to some kind of personal development podcast like Jim Rohn videos, like his quotes are freaking amazing. I feel like that definitely starts you with like starting your day in a good state, right? Like and when you do that, you begin to attract different things in life. And so I believe that starting the right way, your day can determine how you might react to different situations. So sometimes you might, like, if you're already going from the perspective that you're already running late, that your coffee it's too hot or is too cold, and you're creating all of these different things in life, I feel like you're not going to have a good day.
That's good stuff. Sean, you got one morning routine?
For me, when we talk about morning routine, I think Diego mentioned this. Like, I do this, but I don't do this every day. And I've been doing the same thing. So I'm going to work out 260 times this year. So I give myself a little bit of grace. Like, that's the kind of goal. It's a journey to have energy. And I think that's something you're hearing probably in all of us on this podcast is, how do we, create positive energy and attract what we want out of life, and then, show up. So that's what morning routine really is about, and all similar things, getting it into the brain through Audible, working out, stretching, spending time with loved ones, trying to have a moment with everyone in my family. And for me currently, my vice would be maybe coffee. So I'm trying to have some healthier alternatives there, but, start the day, knowing who can I add value to, who can I help, and just making sure my schedule aligns to that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, all right, last one for each one of you guys, and this is just what I was thinking. And my morning routine is I try to get up at 5:45. I usually work out, and then I read and have some quiet time. I love the mornings because it's like my favorite time. Guys, all right, so good book. You guys are avid readers. I know all three of you. What's a great real estate book or personal development book that you want to recommend? Diego, we'll start with you. We'll go with young to oldest.
Perfect. I would recommend the book, of course, Rich Dad Poor Dad, if they haven't read it, but if not, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. That is a very good mindset book that I feel will get you into the right state to look at money in a different way.
Awesome. What do you got, Victor?
For me, I don't know the name of the book, but the author is Joe Stumpf. He's a guy that does by referral only.
Oh, cool.
Man, that guy has gold in that book. He explains to you why you say certain things and how you say it, what choice of words to implement so that it triggers the right thoughts in people. So just pull up Joe Stumpf, and he has, I think it's called Magic Words or something to work by referral. And it is just an incredible book that you can use as a real estate agent. So if you ask me, as a realtor, what book would you recommend? I'd say that book.
Awesome.
I've got two. They might be a little bit more high level, but it's just something recently that's been helping me. One is about a kind of thinking time. It's called The Road Less Stupid by Keith Cunningham. It's definitely so that's a good one. It's definitely helped me because I'm one of these guys, like, I will out hustle, out work, and sometimes I need to just think. and be more strategic. And then, right now, we're in the process of, really trying to build a legacy and, a great company. So, Jim Collins' book, Beyond Entrepreneurship 2.0, is definitely, revisiting some of those things, core values and vision, and just some of his updated stories. Is something that, I'm focused on, because right now it's about, building a great company and legacy here.
And that's awesome. I went back to an old basic. I hadn't read it in 10 years, and I'm paying my kids to read it. But I loved it just as much. And it's actually really rang true with what's going on right now. It's Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I'll just go with the classic. But it was great, and I like using the visualizations. There's some stuff that
100 years later, still 100% relevant.
Well, and they're talking about the changes. You feel like you're reading about today. I mean, you really do, with all the the things going on. So that was interesting. It's such a good book, and I really enjoyed it. I didn't think I would like it as much this time around. And then the other one, just for like mindset and spiritual side, Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. Got recommended, but it's a lot of it's he went through a lot of stuff, and it's pretty interesting seeing his journey through it and how, like, basically letting go and getting your mindset, letting go of some stuff. So that's a pretty cool one too.
I love it. Can't believe no one mentioned, that Austin guy. McConaughey's book.
I was thinking,
is that crazy?
What Millionaire Agent?
No, he's an actor, right? From Austin.
What's
his new book?
McConaughey?
Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah,
but that's a great
I haven't
one,
read
too.
it yet. I haven't read it.
I haven't yet either. I've heard good things.
Yeah,
Red Light, Green Light, or whatever.
Well, guys.
Yeah,
sorry. Go ahead.
No. I was gonna say he's from a small town south of Austin, but he made Austin cool in the eyes of Hollywood.
Austin is cool.
You know what? That is interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder how much influence that had on bringing in over Californians.
Yeah. Austin is cool, though. There's no denying that, man. So
these guys have been awesome.
Awesome, guys. Thanks so much. This was a lot of fun, man. I learned a lot.
It's great. I mean, we could spend hours, but man, we got to be respectful of their time.
Yep. So, guys, knock 'em dead. Diego, and where could they find you out at?
Yeah, they can reach out to me to Instagram at Real Diego Corzo. At Real Diego Corzo.
Awesome. And Victor?
At Realtor Nino on Instagram, or just victornino.com.
Awesome, man. Well, guys, thank you so much. This is certainly fun, man. And hopefully we'll do it again. And Victor, if you get yours up and running, we'd love to come on yours.
Anything we can do for you guys.
Yeah, man, let's do it. Let's do it.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. Thank you. And we'll be back in 2 weeks. Everyone have a great weekend.
All right, we'll see you later.
Take care.
Awesome.